A product can look polished, use the latest design style, and still lose users within seconds if they cannot understand what to do next. Nearly 6 billion people, representing 74% of the world's population, were using the internet in 2025, which means the quality of websites, apps, and digital services now affects how billions of people shop, learn, work, communicate, and manage money, as well as access essential services. And that is where UI UX design becomes really important. UI or user interface is that part where people can see and interact with, including the layout, colors, typography, buttons, icons, menus, while the user experience covers the complete relationship between a person and a product, service, or a company. So in simple terms, UI can help a product look clear and inviting, while UX helps people to complete their goals without confusion or unnecessary effort. UI UX design is therefore connected to visual design, human behavior, research, accessibility, technology, and business needs. It matters because even a useful product can fail when its navigation is unclear, its forms are difficult, or important actions are hidden. Accessibility has also become a core design responsibility, with WCAG 2.2 providing recommendations for making web content more accessible to people with disabilities. This career path is worth understanding because organizations need professionals who can turn complicated systems into simple experiences, and the broader US category of web developers and digital designers is projected to grow by 7% from 2024 to 2034, with about 14,500 openings expected each year. A UI UX designer is not simply someone who makes attractive screens, but it's someone who understands a problem, studies the people facing it, organizes information, creates a practical solution, and improves that solution through testing and feedback. So now that we understand why UI UX design matters, let's move on to the course agenda. UI and UX design. Understand the difference between interface design and user experience. UI UX career roles. Explore the key roles available in design industry. Design fundamentals. Learn typography, color, spacing, hierarchy, and alignments. UX research. Understand users, their needs, and the problems that they're facing. User flows and wireframe. Learn how designers plan product journeys and screen structures. UI design and prototyping. Understand how ideas become clear and interactive interfaces. Usability and accessibility. Learn how designs are tested and made easier for everyone. Design systems. Explore how usable components create consistent products. AI in UI UX design. Understand how designers can use AI responsibly in their workflow. Projects and portfolio. Learn what to build and how to present your design process. Career preparation. Understand the skills that you need to prepare for UI UX opportunities. Before we move on, let me share something really exciting with you guys. If you want to take this roadmap beyond theory and build practical industry-relevant design skills, explore the Advanced Certification in UI UX Design with Generative AI by IIIT Bangalore in collaboration with Simplilearn. The program covers a complete design journey including design thinking, user research, information architecture, wireframing, micro-interactions, usability testing, project handoff, and portfolio development. You will gain hands-on experience with 25+ design tools and work on 15+ portfolio-ready projects covering mobile apps, web applications, and AR, VR, and XR prototypes. You will also learn how to use modern design tools to make everyday tasks more efficient while keeping the user needs and human judgment at the center of every decision. With expert-led sessions, mentor support, IIIT Bangalore masterclasses, and projects that can be showcased on Behance and Ribble, this program is valuable for beginners, career switchers, graphic designers, developers, and working professionals who want to create better digital experiences and build a strong design portfolio. Now, before we conclude, here is a quick quiz question to test your understanding. What is the main purpose of UX design? Is it A, choosing colors, B, solving user problems, C, creating logos, or is it D, writing code? Let us know your answers in the comments below. Every digital product that you use today has been shaped by a series of design decisions. When you book a cab, order food, transfer money, or search for a course, someone has decided what you should be seeing, where should you click, or how easily you can complete your goal. And that is the work of UI UX design. But becoming a UI UX designer is not just about learning Figma or creating attractive screens. It requires an understanding of users, business problems, visual design, research, testing, and communication. In this video, we will be exploring a complete UI UX designer roadmap for 2026. You will understand what to learn, which skills matter, what projects to build, how to create a portfolio, and how to prepare for a professional role in this field. Now, UI UX are often used together, but they focus on different parts of the product experience. UI stands for user interface and covers the visual side of a digital product, including colors, typography, buttons, icons, spacing, and layouts. And UX stands for user experience and focuses on how easily users can complete their goals. For example, a banking app may look modern, but if users cannot find the money transfer option, the user experience is still poor. UI determines how the product looks, while UX determines how the product works and feels. A successful digital product requires both. A clear interface attracts users, but a smooth experience keeps them engaged. And understanding this difference is the first step towards becoming a capable UI UX designer. Now let's move on to why UI UX design matters. Users today have many alternatives and they rarely continue using a product that feels confusing or difficult. A person may leave an online store if the checkout process is too long, uninstall an app if the navigation is unclear, or lose trust in a banking platform if error messages are confusing. And this is why businesses invest in UI UX design. Designers help reduce user frustration, simplify complex actions, and make products easier to understand. Good design can improve product adoption, customer satisfaction, and overall business performance. UI UX design is used across e-commerce, finance, healthcare, education, entertainment, travel, and almost every digital industry. As more services move online, the ability to create useful and accessible digital experiences continues to become an important professional skill. UI UX design also includes several career paths, and each role focuses on a different part of the product experience. For example, a UI designer may mainly work on colors, typography, visual consistency, and interface components. And a UX design focuses on user research, workflows, information structure, wireframes, and usability. A product designer often works across the entire process from identifying a problem to creating and improving the final solution. A UX researcher studies user behavior through interviews, surveys, and testing. And an interaction designer focuses on how users move through a product and how elements respond to their actions. Now, beginners don't need to be choosing a specialization immediately. It's better to understand the complete design process first and then identify the area that matches their interests and strengths. A strong UI UX learning journey should follow a clear order. Start with design fundamentals so that you can understand hierarchy, typography, color spacing, and alignment. Then learn how users think and how designers identify real problems through research. After that, move into information architecture, user flows, wireframing, and interaction design. Once the structure is clear, learn interface design, prototyping, accessibility, and usability testing. The next stage is learning how a design system works and how designers collaborate with developers and product teams. Finally, apply everything to real projects, create detailed case studies, build a portfolio, and prepare for interviews. Following this sequence is more effective than learning random tools because every skill supports the next stage of design process. Before creating digital interfaces, you need to understand the principles that make a design clear and visually organized. Start with a visual hierarchy, which helps users notice important information first. Learn typography so that headings, body texts, labels, and buttons are easy to read. Understand spacing and alignment because inconsistent spacing can make even a good design feel unprofessional. Study color theory, contrast, balance, repetition, and proximity. These concepts help users understand which elements belong together and which actions deserve attention. For example, a primary button should be more noticeable than a secondary option. Design fundamentals are not only about making screens attractive, they help users understand information quickly and complete actions with less effort. Once these principles become clear, every tool becomes easier to use effectively. Good designers do not create interfaces based only on personal preference. They understand how people read, remember, compare, and make decisions. Now, users usually scan screens instead of reading every word, so important information should be easier to notice. Too many choices can slow down decision making, while unclear labels may make users to hesitate. Familiar patterns also matter because users already know how search bars, shopping carts, menus, and login screens normally work. And designers should not make common actions unnecessarily difficult just to appear creative. For example, placing the checkout button in an unexpected location may reduce usability even if the design looks unique. Learning basic user psychology helps designers predict behavior, reduce confusion, and create experiences that feel natural. Now, this understanding becomes especially useful when we move into the complete UX process. The UX design process begins with understanding the problem and not drawing the final screen. Designers first study the user's business requirements and existing challenges. Then they define the main problem and identify what the product needs to improve. After this, designers explore possible solutions, create user flows, and develop wireframes and build prototypes. Now, these prototypes are tested with users to identify confusion, errors, or missing information. Based on the results, the design is improved and tested again, because the designers may return to an earlier stage when new information appears. The main purpose is to reduce assumptions and make decisions based on evidences. A designer who follows this process can not only explain what was created, but also why each decision was made. User research helps designers understand what people actually need instead of guessing. Research may include interviews, surveys, observation, competitor analysis, and usability testing. For example, before designing a healthcare appointment app, a designer may speak with the patients to understand how they choose doctors, what information they needed, and where they face difficulty. The designer may discover that users are not only looking for available time slots, they may also need information about specialization, consultation fees, language, and location. These insights influence the complete product structure. Beginners should learn how to ask open-ended questions, record observations, identify repeated problems, and avoid leading participants towards a particular answer. Strong research gives direction to the project and helps designers create solutions that respond to real user behavior. Research produces a large number of information, but designers must convert that information into a clear problem. A weak statement such as users need better apps doesn't provide enough direction. However, a stronger problem statement explains who is facing the problem, what they're trying to achieve, and what is stopping them. For example, first-time patients may struggle while choosing the correct specialist because the booking platform doesn't use medical terms and they cannot understand them. This problem is specific and can guide the design process. Designers may also create personas, empathy maps, or user journey maps to organize their findings. These tools should be based on research rather than imagination. The objective is to keep the user's needs visible throughout the project and prevent the team from designing only around internal assumptions. A user journey shows the complete experience a person has while trying to achieve a goal, and it may not include what the user does, thinks, feels, and experiences at different stages. Consider someone ordering food through an app. The journey may begin before the app is opened and when the person feels hungry and starts comparing options. It continues through the restaurant section, menu browsing, payment, delivery tracking, and receiving the order. Problems can appear at any stage, such as unclear delivery charges, missing filters, payment failure, or delayed updates. By mapping the journey, designers can identify opportunities to improve the experience. User journeys help teams look beyond individual screens and understand the complete relationship between the user and the product. And this leads naturally into organizing information and defining the path users will follow. Now, information architecture is the process of organizing content so that users can find what they need easily. It is especially important in products that contain many pages, categories, settings, or features. For example, an e-commerce platform needs a clear structure for product categories, filters, search results, account details, orders, and payments. If the structure is confusing, users may not know where to go even if the page looks attractive. Designers use sitemaps, content grouping, and navigation patterns to create a logical structure. They may also conduct cart sorting to understand how users naturally group information. Good information architecture reduces the number of decisions users need to make. Once the content is organized, designers can create clear user flows that show how people move from one step to another. A user flow is a visual representation of the steps a user takes to complete a task. For example, a flight booking flow may include choosing destinations, selection dates, comparing flights, entering passenger details, making payment, and receiving confirmation. Designers create flows before detailed screens because this helps them identify unnecessary steps and missing situations. A complete flow should also consider errors, empty states, and alternative paths. What happens if the payment fails? What happens if no flights are available? What happens if the user wants to change the date? These situations are important because the real users don't always follow the ideal path. User flows help designers, developers, and product managers agree on how the work experience should be before the time is invested into visual design. Wireframes are simple representations of screen layouts. They show where the content, buttons, images, menus, and forms will appear without focusing heavily on visual styling. Low-fidelity wireframes may look like rough sketches, while detailed wireframes provide a clearer view on the structure. The purpose is to test the arrangement of information before spending time on colors and polished visuals. For example, while designing a checkout page, a wireframe can help determine whether users should enter the address before selecting a payment method. It can also show whether the order summary remains visible throughout the process. Wireframes make changes faster because the team can discuss structure without being distracted by visual details. And once the layout and flow are clear, the design can move into the interface stage. UI design turns a functional structure into a clear and visually engaging interface. At this stage, designers apply typography, colors, spacing, icons, images, and reusable components. The goal is not to decorate the wireframe, but to improve communication. Important actions should be visually clear, related elements should appear connected, and content should remain readable across different screen sizes. Designers should also maintain consistency. A button should not be changing shape, color, or behavior from one screen to another without a reason. For example, if blue represents the main action of a home page, it should not suddenly represent a disabled option on the next screen. Strong UI design makes the product feel reliable and helps users understand how to interact with it without needing detailed instructions. Now, Figma is widely used for interface design, prototyping, collaboration, and design systems. Beginners should learn frames, grids, text styles, color styles, components, variants, auto layout, and responsive behavior. Now, these features help designers create interfaces that are consistent and easier to update. FigJam can support brainstorming, journey mapping, and team discussions. Other tools may be used for research, documentation, testing, and project management. However, learning many tools should not become the main objective. A designer who knows every Figma feature but cannot explain the user problem will struggle in a professional environment. Tools should support the design process and not replace it. Focus first on understanding why a screen is needed, how users will interact with it, and what outcome the design will be creating. A prototype shows how users will move through the product before it is developed. It connects screens and simulates actions such as clicking buttons, opening menus, submitting forms, or moving through an onboarding process. Prototypes may be simple or highly detailed depending on what needs to be tested. Interaction design focuses on how the product responds to users' actions. For example, when a payment is being processed, the interface should clearly communicate that the action is still in progress. And when a user enters incorrect information, the error message should explain what needs to be corrected. Now, good interaction design helps provide feedback, prevents mistakes, and makes the product feel responsive. Prototypes help teams experience the flow, identify problems early, and communicate the intended behavior before development begins. Now, usability testing helps designers understand whether the people can use the product successfully or not. Now, during a test, participants are asked to complete specific tasks while the designer observes their behavior. The purpose is not to explain the interface or guide users towards the correct action. The designer needs to see where the people hesitate, misunderstand labels, take the wrong path, or fail to complete the task. For example, users may repeatedly miss a filter because it's placed behind an unclear icon, and that observation can lead to a more visible and understandable design. Now, testing doesn't need to involve a very large group during early stages. Even a small number of participants can reveal repeated problems. The important skill is observing the behavior carefully and improving the design based on evidence rather than personal opinion. Professional designs are rarely created perfectly in the first attempt. Iteration means improving the product through repeated cycles of feedback, testing, and refinement. A designer may change the navigation after users struggle to locate a feature, simplify a form after people abandon it, or rewrite button labels when users misunderstand the action. Iteration is not a sign that the original design failed. It's a normal part of creating a better solution. Designers should document what changed and why it changed. This information becomes valuable while presenting the project to stakeholders or including it in a portfolio case study. A strong designer is not emotionally attached to the first idea. Instead, the designer remains focused on whether the solution helps the users achieve their goals effectively or not. Accessibility means designing products that can be used by people with different abilities, devices, and situations. Designers should be able to consider readable text, sufficient color contrast, clear labels, keyboard navigation, focus states, touch target size, and understand error messages. Information should not only depend on color because some users may not be able to distinguish the difference. Videos may need caption, images may need alternative texts, and forms should clearly explain what information is required. Accessibility is not something that should be added only at the end of a project. It should influence decisions from the beginning. Inclusive design often improves the experience for everyone. Clear text, simple navigation, and visible feedback helps users with disabilities, but they also help people use small screens, poor internet connections, or unfamiliar devices. A design system is a collection of reusable components, styles, patterns, and guidelines that help people or teams create consistent products. It may include buttons, forms, cards, colors, typography, space rules, icons, and interaction states. Now, instead of redesigning the same element for every screen, teams can use approved components, and this saves time and reduces inconsistencies. For example, if a company updates its primary button style, the change can be applied across many screens through design systems. Designers should learn how components, variants, naming conventions, and documentations work. They should also understand that a design system is more important than a Figma library. It includes rules that explain when and how each component should be used. And this knowledge becomes important when working on large products with multiple designers and developers. A strong design system helps teams build consistent products, scale easily, collaborate easily, and deliver faster. Now, UI/UX designers rarely work alone. They collaborate with product managers, developers, researchers, writers, marketers, and business stakeholders. Designers need to explain their decisions clearly and listen to technical or business constraints. A developer may explain that a particular interaction will take longer to build, while a product manager may identify a feature that is more important for the current release. The designer must balance user needs, business goals, and technical feasibility. Good collaboration also includes preparing clear design files, documenting different states, and answering questions during development. Designers should also learn how to receive feedback without treating every suggestion like a personal criticism. Communication is a major career skill because even a strong design can fail if the team does not understand how it should be working. AI can support designs by reducing repetitive work and helping people explore ideas faster. It can assist with summarizing research roles, generating draft content, creating practice briefs, organizing information, and exploring different layout directions. It can also help designers compare alternatives or prepare questions for usability testing. However, AI should not be used to invent user interviews, create fake research findings, or make final decisions without evaluation. A generated interface may look polished while still carrying poor hierarchy, including inaccessible colors or confusing interactions. The designer may remain responsible for checking the output and connecting it to real user needs. And in 2026, the most valuable designers will not be the ones who avoid AI or depend completely on it. They will be the ones who use it carefully while maintaining strong design judgment. Projects help you convert theory into practical experience. A strong beginner portfolio should be including around 3 detailed projects rather than a large number of incomplete screens. One project should improve an existing product with a genuine usability problem. Another could involve designing a new mobile experience such as healthcare appointment booking or a personal finance management. A third project should be a responsive website or a software as a service platform that includes a small design system. Each product should be showing a complete process including the problem, research, user flow, wireframes, interface design, prototypes, testing, and improvements. Avoid copying a popular app only to show visual skills. Recruiters want to understand how you think, and a project becomes valuable only when it explains the reasoning behind the design and not creating the final appearance. Now, here's how you can create a strong portfolio. A portfolio is your opportunity to demonstrate how you can solve problems. Each case study should begin with a clear explanation of the project, your role, the users, and the main challenge. Then show the research, key insights, user flow, wireframes, design decisions, and final solution. Include iterations so that the viewers can see how feedback influenced the design. Avoid filling the case study with every note, sketch, or screen created during the project. Select the information that supports the story. The portfolio should be easy to scan because recruiters may review many applications in limited time. So use clear headings, short explanations, and readable visuals. Most importantly, be honest with what you did. A smaller project with a clear thinking is more convincing than a large case study filled with unsupported claims. Job preparation should begin before the portfolio is completely finished. Study job descriptions to understand the skills companies repeatedly request. Prepare a resume that highlights projects, design skills, collaboration, and measurable outcomes where available. Practice explaining your case studies in simple and a structured way. During interviews, you may be asked why you selected a particular flow, how you handle feedback, or what you would improve with one more time. Some companies may also provide a design assignment or a whiteboard challenge. The objective is usually to understand your thinking process rather than receiving a perfect final screen. Learn to ask questions, identify assumptions, explain trade-offs, and stay focused on the user problem. Confidence grows when you repeatedly present your work and receive constructive feedback. Now let's move on to the 12-week learning plan. A beginner can organize this roadmap into a focused 12-week plan. During weeks 1 and 2, learn design fundamentals and analyze existing interfaces. During week 3 and 4, study user research, problem statements, and journey mapping. During week 5 and 6, practice information architecture, user flows, and wireframe. During week 9 and 10, create a prototype, conduct basic usability testing, and during week 11, improve the design and apply accessibility principles. During week 12, convert the project into a complete portfolio case study. Now, this timeline is not only a starting structure. The goal here is not to finish quickly, but to produce clear evidence that you understand and apply each skill. To conclude, let's check upon the common beginner mistakes. One common mistake is treating Figma as a complete UI/UX profession. Tools are important, but research, problem solving, testing, and communication are equally necessary. Another mistake is beginning directly with a polished screen before understanding user flow. Beginners also create fictional personas and reach findings that do not connect to real evidence. Some portfolios show only final designs, making it difficult to understand how decisions are made. Another mistake is learning continuously without completing a project. Tutorials can create the feeling of progress, but practical work is where the real learning happens. Avoid using too many colors, inconsistent spacing, and decorative elements that do not support the experience. Finally, do not ignore feedback. The ability to review, revise, and improve your work is one of the most important qualities of a professional designer. And that brings us to the end of this UI/UX designer roadmap. Remember, becoming a successful designer is not only about creating attractive screens, it's also about understanding users, solving real problems, testing your ideas, and improving your work through feedback. Start with the fundamentals, build practical projects, and focus on showing your complete design process. Subscribe to Simplilearn for more such insights and check out our related videos.